Hello again, everyone. This is Joe Henches with Beyond the Chart. And in this stock market analysis video, we're going to look at and find out who has the winning stock market, China or India. So stay tuned. All right, so now we're going to pull back the curtain here and start with the end of 1995. So 20 years ago, and we're taking a look at the first 5 years. Now, what we've got here is in the black is the India Nifty 50 weekly average, and in the red is the China Shanghai Composite. So you can see that out of the box, they both started right in here. They were kind of mirroring, and then China took off and had a pretty good run, and India was lagging. They both went through a pullback, although China's was sideways. India's was a little sharper on the pullback. And they both broke above that high that was established. India's was 1997. China's was, earlier in 1997. They both kind of broke above that high at about the same time. And so that was kind of interesting. So the horse race was pretty much together. Then you got India pulling back and China continuing to push in 2001. Let's pull back and take a look at the next 6 years. So we go back 2001, we go to the end of 2006. Have I got that right? I think so. We're pretty close. All right, so now you can see India had a pretty good pullback. And then it finally made a run and took out this top. And it didn't happen until, late 2003 into early 2004. China established its top, later, but it had been a stronger top. It had continued to push up in here, and then it pulled back and didn't break above that high until back over here in 2000, at the very end of 2006. So now let's pull it back and just go another 5 years. So let's go out to 2011. You can see what's happening here. So they both started to push, and India, breaks well above this high and really pours on the steam here after China's pulling back. China ended up having a more extensive pullback. You can see how it stretched longer than India's. I mean, India's really ended right here in 2001 in the September of when 9/11 happened. And that was the bottom on India. And China didn't bottom in its pullback until back here in 2005. And then India really poured on the steam in 2003 to 2004, 2005, all the way really into 2008, January 2008. Whereas China's was more compressed and got a lot more vertical, you can see here, and skyrocketed all the way up here into October 2007. So really kind of peaked when, the U.S. markets were peaking, the S&P 500, Dow, all of that, October 2007. So this is pretty interesting, and you can see how we've taken out, China. And so right now you'd look at this and say, well, wow, I mean, it kind of looks like China's really outperforming. Although you got to, the last peak that we looked at here for India was here, and look how far it's come. You have to sit back and say, well, it's done a pretty big move here too, especially percentage-wise, and we'll look at that in a minute. And then the last 5 sections is what's really gets a little bit more interesting, and let me go ahead and take this off. So now you can see that here's the January 2008 peak. India came up and touched it in November 2010. It is broken above that and continues to stay above that at this point, whereas China pulls back, tries to rally, doesn't even come close to doing what India has done, and then really drags on back down here, and then does make one run for it, which was what really got everybody's attention, all of the stock market exploding in China, but it never exceeded the high of 2007 like India did. And so now when we look at the numbers and the final numbers in here, and I'll put them on the screen here, China is up 4.2 times, and I'm looking at last Friday's close. So through March 25th, China is up 4.2 times the first weekly close that I had back here in November 1995 on my data. India is up 8.1 times. So India has outperformed China in terms of the stock market indice here, almost twice in terms of the degree of return in terms of what it's done. And so pretty amazing run. India continues to be very strong. You can see it almost looks like a large cup and handle that it's broken out of. When I look at it from an Elliott wave perspective, and I'll drill down and do that on a more closely basis, I do think we have one more push up in India, but I think that may be it. So I'll look at that in another video. So anyway, I hope you found this kind of interesting and a little eye-opening, actually, at India, for all the noise and news that China's getting because it's the second largest economy in the world. India's stock market has vastly outperformed it. And when you think about it, I think we're looking at, between these two countries, 40 to 50% of the world's population. I know China is a quarter of the world's population, and I'm not quite sure what India's is, but it may be 20%. So I mean, we're probably in that 40 to 50% range. So pretty interesting scenario here. Pretty interesting picture. All right, everyone, have a great day, and hey, check out the website. If you're watching this anywhere else besides my website, head on over and check out the website, and we'll see you on the next video.